Major fatigue, huh? Maybe I should rest, you know. Let's see how much.
Good day, stranger.
Okay, your sleep is restless and fevered, assaulted by hisses and whispers, blanketed with a suffocating anxiety. You open your eyes to awaken and find yourself in front of Gilded Vale's gallows tree, the creaking of its ropes growing louder in your mind until the sound is deafening. Hanging from the tree is an old dwarf woman whose face has shriveled inward like mouldering fruit. Her head hangs limply to one side. As you look at her, she looms larger and larger in your mind until she is mere inches from your face. Suddenly, her head snaps up and her eyes open, and they are empty, and behind them is a vast nothingness that makes your stomach drop. Her mouth slowly parts with a gust of rancid air. She speaks the word Watcher. You jolt awake, the foul smell of the dwarf woman's breath still permeating your nostrils. Sweat runs down your face, and is thick droplets, and your skin is soaked from head to toe. You remember the woman. You remember seeing her decaying face when you spoke with the magistrate. He called her an animancer. Though it fills you with a new queasy apprehension, you feel a strange compulsion to see this woman once more, if only to confirm she is truly dead. Well, what do you know? I had to sleep, after all. Now let's go and see the woman. At least I have a bunch of backup, should things go terribly wrong. Yeah, those are a nice touch, Nutter, I agree. Well, what do you know? Caldara de Berranzi, the squat, distended body of an elderly dwarf woman dangles from a thin, crooked board that sags at the top of her nose. The bloated purple flesh of her neck, worn away in patches like moth-eaten linen, bulges over the rope that suspends her, and her lifeless head lolls forward rigidly from one side to the other when the breeze shifts. You receive a faint glow around her that casts no light on its surroundings, but there is a tepid warmth to it. You feel somehow that you could reach and touch it, not with your hands, but with some aspect of yourself that has no worldly dimension. Reach for the woman. You take a deep breath, clearing your mind, focusing on your objective. As you exhale, you feel yourself spraying out toward the hanging woman, pursuing all that lies between you and her with new, unfamiliar awareness. Once you have expanded enough to reach her, there is a sudden jolt to your mind, a ringing, electric surge of images and words and sounds. Involuntarily, you shut your eyes and feel yourself being pulled down some deeper consciousness in a space occupied only by you and the hanging woman. And when you open them again, she is staring at you with eyes clouded in a milky fog, her body still swaying in a wind you no longer feel from a tree that stands planted in a misty void. The woman gives a slow nod of her head, the rope creaking as she does so, and smiles at you.
Have you come here for me, dear, or have you gotten lost? Ah, it is both, I think. Yes?
How are you able to speak to me?
Is that what we're doing? Perhaps it just seems that way. Perhaps it is the easiest way for your mind to make sense of it. I think it is a very good choice.
Am I imagining this?
No, I think not. A pity that. It would be simpler. A mercy even. To not have to wander anymore, no? Alas, we are here, you and I. Wherever here may be.
I need to understand something that's happened to me. She nods and looks a look of pity in her face as though consoling a child.
The world looks a little different than it used to, is that it? Feels like you're noticing things for the first time that have always been there. You have seen past the shroud. It only takes an instant. Your soul remembers, yes? Remembers how it sees when it leaves the body, like being reminded of a dream you had forgotten. You are a watcher now, and a watcher you will stay.
What's a watcher?
What indeed? Long hours have many animancers spent studying such things. Not I, though. Not I. I'll tell you what I know, though, since fair is fair. And here we are, visiting, you and I, and it reminds me of better times. Souls pass on. Some say through Audra stones, which are the blood veins of the world. They leave the world for a time and are reborn into it, sometimes more than they were before, but usually less and seldom the same. For all souls there is a time where they do not live, yet have not passed on, and those souls roam the world, same as you or I, either leaving or lost. But no one sees them because they have forgotten how.
Those must be ghosts I've seen. I thought they just appeared in the forest.
A watcher sees, though, knows what to look for. And sometimes they know a person just by looking at them, know where they've been in ages past when their bodies were other bodies. See memories even their owner can't recall. A wonder to behold when all goes well. A wonder!
What do you mean when all goes well?
Oh, nothing to be afraid of, I'm sure. It's just much to take in for some. Sometimes there's trouble sleeping or other difficulties.
She smiles at you reassuringly, fanning out a tuft of long whiskers that sprouts from one of her cheeks.
You should see old Meerwald. He could tell you much more than I. A watcher just like you. Helped many in his day. Took up in an old keep no one would claim. Not far, not far. Kadnua, beyond the Black Meadow. He will welcome the company.
I think I survived the biowack. Do you know why that would be?
Did you now, dear? My, that would be something, wouldn't it? Could be luck, could certainly be. A storm can be a careless thing. Or maybe it got its hands around your soul but couldn't pick it up. A soul can be heavy if it stayed in one piece through its time. Strong souls, we call them in the trade. Cold, I mean. Called them. Those days are all behind me, no?
You said souls break over?
Oh, yes. Entropy. Rimagan's work. We know little of why or how. We lose pieces of ourselves when we die and pick up pieces of others when we are born again, but less than what we lost. We tried to stop it with the animantic sciences, but with little success. No.
And that's why there is hollow children, obviously. That's the explanation of hollow children. Eventually a soul is destroyed, and when one of those souls is supposed to be reincarnated in a new body, there is nothing. So a body without a soul is born into the world. Okay.
A very small few resist Remergan's influence and stay together through some force of defiance, at least for a time. But they all succumb eventually, I think.
I want to know something about you.
Me? I'll bore you to tears, though.
Who are you?
And here I thought you'd come to visit me in particular. Caldara de Berranzi, of the Valian Royal Academy of Animantic Sciences. Not the greatest of their number, but I came here all the same because this was where help was needed.
What happened to you? She laughs, a rasping-jawed crackle escaping between rows of buttery yellow teeth, causing her body to bob up and down with each spasm. Seeing your blank expression, she catches herself.
Oh, come now, such a question, as though the answer were plain as a rope tied for strangling. Allow an old dwarf her last bit of cheer. Well, I came where I was needed, didn't I? Offered my services to Lord Radric for a pittance, a humble pittance. I was to examine the Lord's wife, see why the gods have seen fit to poison her womb. Studied her for months, looked high and low for impurities, tested her valence, the permeability of her essence. Do you know what I found?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. A healthy woman, head to toe, blessed with a beautiful soul. Such a sweet woman, too. Meek, but warm-hearted. A few months' time, and the lord of the house demanded answers. For a time, I told him what he wanted to hear. Oh, yes, my lord. She is riddled with imbalances. I must have time to cure her. As the birth drew near, he grew impatient, as lords do. And this is where I've ended up.
And why did you not study the Lord? Maybe he's the problem, not the woman. What's an animancer?
A student of the soul. Something so basic, yet so poorly understood. But so many breakthroughs have been made in my lifetime. Had been. To hear the locals tell it, we're a gang of soul manglers that preys upon the weak-minded. And the worst of us are. But the best of us? The best? Inspirations, miracle workers. My parents were soul twins, miserable before they met, empty inside. It was an animancer who helped one find the other, turned their lives around. You wouldn't believe the stories. Amnesiacs helped to remember their lives. The suicidal brought back from the brink of oblivion. The elderly afforded extra moments to say their goodbyes. How soon we forget when we're afraid. It's a fascinating science. A fascinating time to be alive in a place like Deerwood that does not control the research, no? I love the Valian Republics for many things, but their recent caution will leave them behind, I fear.
I had other questions.
Of course, dear.
I did not have any other questions.
Goodbye, my dear. It was lovely visiting.
Caldara closes her eyes and her head slumps forward over the news, and your surroundings seem to lead into your vision from some unknown place of waiting. Aloth looks at you through narrowed eyes. Are you alright? You seem lost just now. I am a watcher. His arched eyebrows recede into his hood. Well, that's interesting. He gives you a sly grin. And I expect this has something to do with the hooded figure in the ruins, hmm? In any case, I appreciate your honesty. Since we're traveling together, it's probably wise for us to share these things. Do you know anything about the Watchers? Only that they are rare, and that they seem to have unique insight into certain soul conditions, he coughs, as you demonstrated. Let's continue on. The Old Watcher.
Sip.
Okay. The smell of pipe smoke, at once earthly and sweet, winds its way into your nostrils. Your eyes trace the smoke to its origin, where you find a broad man with straw-colored hair leaning against a mossy rock wall, his pipe held to his lips with one meaty hand. He looks at you directly in the eye, but the look is not aggressive. He regards you with a peculiar smirk. I think this guy was a friend of the dwarf.
17 and a half. Well, could be 18, depending on how you count the dwarf woman.
I'm sorry, obviously he's talking about the people in the train.
The dwarf woman. You were trying to figure out whether to count her as a full person. I think you oughta.
What are you talking about?
The people hanging from the tree. 18 of them. Well, last I counted, anyway.
Aloth frowns. Is that what you people do for fun around here?
Name's Adair. So to the people around here, might as well be 19. Don't think I'd put you much higher than 22, 23 tops. You look like the sort that likes to get involved.
What makes you think I was interested in the dwarf woman? He looks at you for a moment, his brow arched, his smirk broadens.
I was smoking over here, saw you staring at her. Twice I refilled my pipe. You never so much as blinked. Your mouth was so slack I took you for a Radric at first.
Do you know what a watcher is?
Careful, friend. Let's not use that word round here. Could be any number of Radric bootlickers within earshot. Ciphers, animancers, watchers. Same thing in the eyes of folks around here, Radric especially. They come through these parts all the time with their cures, preying on the desperate. None of them are who they claim to be. Of course, seeing you with that funny look, I'd be halfway inclined to believe you were having some kind of communion with that dwarf. Either case, maybe I'm not 19 after all. No offense.
You think you're going to be hanged?
The town's had it in for me for a long time now. Only fellow who ever stuck up for me, well, he's number 18 up there. My headman on the farm. Used to be my captain during the war.
The war? Saints War, only one in my lifetime. Fella decides he's living incarnation of Eodas, overthrows Red Serras, marches on Deadwood, so we get him a Deerwoodian hello. What's that?
We blew him up.
He smiles at this, but it is the smile of one recounting a joke for effect rather than enjoyment. Who is Eodas? God of rebirth and redemption, formerly anyhow. Maybe they call him something different where you come from. Have other questions? Why was your headman hanged? He got involved. Redrick sent men down here the other day, said they had it on good authority someone in town was working with Kolchks, plotting Raiden's overthrow. Said if we didn't come forward right there and then, they'll hang everyone. No one was coming forward, so as we think that's my headman, he steps up and says it to him. They took him at his word. He sighs and shakes his head, his eyes fixed on the tree. Bound to happen sooner or later, if not for plotting against Redrick, then for protecting me. Who is Kolsch? Someone who got tired of all the hangings. He's on the run now, probably will be till they catch him. What does your tongue have against you?
Pick the wrong god. That's what it comes down to. Used to be a lot of Aethys worshippers in Gilded Vale. That mess of rocks over there, that was a temple to him, to give you some idea.
Okay.
Then one day, somebody named Widewind shows up on Deerwood's doorstep. Says he's the living flesh of Aethys. Got an army with him. Suddenly, Aethys isn't so popular in these parts. My brother Woden and me, neither of us believed it. No way was that Aethys. He enlisted, then I did too. But, he didn't make it back. After the war, people took to punishing Aethys worshippers, accusing them of treason. Got real ugly, especially after the legacy started. Folks needed someone to blame. I was safe because I fought, but then this rumor starts that my brother, that he was on the wrong side. And I wasn't so safe anymore. Until my headman stepped in and said they'd have to hang him to get to me. Seems that's no longer a concern. Of course, the townies don't do the hanging these days, but when Raedrick's men come, they got no problem doing the pointing.
Aloth glances at you and lowers his voice. You can see why I was eager to leave. Okay, leave where? If you're next to a hand, what are you still doing here? That's a very good question. Drinking mostly. Point of fact, I'm on my way out. Just haven't figured where I'm going yet. Not a whole lot of places out there that don't think Wadegun's legacy started with Wadewen. You could travel together. Where are you headed? Some place called Kaet Nua. There's an old watcher there who might be able to help me.
Seem to remember hearing something about that years ago. He tamed that place. People would seek him out for all kinds of things. Troubles of the soul, questions for the departed. Of course, that was back when you didn't have to say watcher with a hush on your breath. A man such as that, there'd be things I'd want to ask him. Don't know why I never thought of it before. Not sure how I feel about setting out with a stranger. And a strange one at that. But, truth be told, you might be the only one in town who wouldn't feel some relief seeing me swing from that tree.
There is a fine reason if I've ever heard one.
Alright then. Guess I'll do some sightseeing. As long as you're not the one picking the sights.
He tilts his head forward and gives you a pointed look. Well, that seems highly unlikely. Well, there you go, I gained a person. Alright, great. Grant second chance, what the hell is that? I don't know what it's going to do. Let's lay it on him, whatever. Okay. Let's go to the basement. Okay, let me look at something.
What is it?
Know what chic and what's this? Crucible of the soul. The Watcher unravels the vital essence of her enemies, gaining endurance in the process. Well, that's great. One per rest.
How may I help?
He can do okay, so these two are the one that these two. And two per encounter. Okay.
Oh?
Fairly straightforward. Okay, I have to tell you the truth. I will need to start stopping the game. There is no way. This is too complex to do in real time. There is no way I'm going to be able to pull this off if I don't stop the game. So I will start. Sorry if anyone was expecting otherwise. Okay, what does this do? Generates a tangible seal of failed, increases damage reduction of all allies in the area. Okay.
Yeah?
Yes?
The rising sun of the tree stores the symbol of Eothas.
All right, then.
With a man lies resting against the wall, lit by the dim illumination of the fading sconces. He has a gaunt, fox-like aspect, and his face is pale and damp with sweat. One arm is held loosely against his side, sleeve soaked with blood. He gives you an anxious stance as you near, his features twisted with pain.
Well met, friend.
Though you were some, never mind where you are, you've traveled a long way to reach this dark place. The temple isn't what it used to be, probably for the best. Times being as they are. He groans and shifts position, wincing. I'm no looter if that's what you're thinking, none of the faithful either. Just wanted to do some good, I suppose, got my arm clawed up for it. He regards you heavily. Maybe you'd have better luck. With what? The mind points a finger upwards. These ruins around us. Use the temple of Eothas, the scattered god, A grand temple at all. His worshippers would come from all over Deerwood, from Ceres even. Not so much for Red Ceres these days. Until the war, of course. And then you'd get some of the stubborn ones. The ones that couldn't get it through their heads that their god was dead and gone. Lord Raedric allowed them to worship. The Lord would clear out the place from time to time, make arrests. It wasn't until the legacy that he started losing his patience. He sent his guards to put the priests to the sword, bring the place down, burn some of the books, and that was that. He looks away. Go on. Once the legacy started, Lord Raedric decided he had been too lenient on the Eoathians. He had his people go in and put them to the sword, left them down there, buried under a heap of rock. After that, Raedric ordered the temple sealed. It's been years like that, up until recently. The Lord hopes that if we dedicate the temple to a living God, then will be forgiven, and the legacy will end. See, he smiles wryly. But until then, the temple is as you see it, unguarded. That's where you come in. Wirthan licks his lips. Those priests, maybe they didn't have a lick of sense between them, but they didn't deserve to go like that, chopped down in their god's house. Doesn't sit right with me. If you can get down there, find the remains, maybe we can finally give them a proper burial. Wirthan breathes out. No small tasks. There is coin in it for you if you need motivating. A lot's cautious expression softens. Pleasant surprise to see that someone around here has a shred of respect for the dead. I take it you aren't supposed to be in here? Weirden laughs bleakly. Well, I meant to be in and out, nice and quick. I'm not hurting anyone, it's just Lord Roeric's forbidding anyone having anything to do with the scattered god. It would be a little harder to explain to him than you. It's a good cause, though, isn't it? And you could make some coin in the process. I have some questions. Yes? Won't Lord Raedric mind us digging down here? I wouldn't go telling him about it. Lingering in these places is no good for anyone. But you do this quick and quiet, and we can do right by those priests without raising a fuss. I have no more questions. I'm not interested. The man sacks back against the wall and raises a hand apologetically. Fair enough. I just thought, since you're down here anyhow, I could use the help. I would be willing to make it worth your while if you change your mind. No, I'm not going to do anything against a lord. The Lord wants those people down there. The Lord is right. Okay, so let's look at the journal. Go to Cade Noir. What the hell is that? Okay, south and then east. Why not? It's really stupid they don't hold the formation while mowing. So we're back here, after all. The bestiary, what the hell is that?
Lay low.
Okay, give me a second, please.